I'm Ashton from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Tej Gundavelli, the founder of Touch a Life Foundation and Tal Giving. Tej, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Addison.
You're very welcome. I'd love to kick off the interview by hearing a little bit on your background in the blockchain space, in the giving space, and how that led to you starting the Touch a Life Foundation.
So kind of my journey within the space started more on the giving side. I went to a Catholic high school where they heavily emphasized the importance of service, spent time working in local nonprofit organizations such as Sacred Heart Community Service, getting to know kind of what the local nonprofits over there were working on, what issues were important to them. And towards the end of my career, I started to learn about issues that I guess were hitting a lot more closer to home in terms of the types of people that were affected within the school district that I lived in. So to put it more in context, there were around 80 homeless students, homeless high school students around my age who lived within the area. So specifically my district, and I live in a relatively affluent neighborhood. So just hearing about that kind of struck a nerve with me, and it made me realize that kind of the systems that we have in place, I guess structurally, there's a lot more that we could be doing in terms of awareness and in terms of how we decide to help other people. Fast forward to a couple years later, I go to school for computer science and applied math, get a nice job at PayPal. And in the meantime, I'm still working with the Touch a Life Foundation. I'm working with a lot of these nonprofits and a lot of these school districts on how I can help other people, but it's entirely a manual job. Mm-hmm. But as I started to work at PayPal, we have something called an opportunity hack, where you can kind of come up with various ideas in terms of how you can help in terms of financial inclusion. And PayPal has a big stress on financial inclusion. Within my own life as well, I started to think about just how can I integrate the two various aspects of my life of, I'm doing a lot of this computer science stuff and I'm also trying to just help people. How do I integrate those two things? And that's kind of where the Tal Giving app was formed, where we wanted to have this mechanism of helping other people and to address that in a way that felt more personal and gamify really acts of kindness. So kind of the same sense of joy that you get when you see likes on Instagram or Facebook. We wanted to be able to do that through an app format for nonprofit organizations. And in the same way that Uber connects you to, say, a driver, we want to be able to connect you as an individual that wants to donate to causes that you care about.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a great backstory, Tej. And it's great to see that PayPal is actually supporting this cause, because it is a really great initiative. And that led you to starting the Tal Giving application. Could you talk a little bit more about what is exactly in the Tal Giving application and how is it specifically disrupting the public donation space right now?
Yeah, so I think one of the bigger disruptions within the public donation space that we're doing is, we don't take any of the funds that come along the way when we are actually trying to run a donation. At the moment, we do have this small little transaction fee that happens, when you do transfer money, but we're hoping to remove that cost as well through some of the advances that we're going to see in blockchain that, we'll discuss a little bit later. But that's one of the big things. And the other aspect is that this application, we plan on making it entirely community driven. We want this application to be something that lives beyond us. And in that sense, in the same way that you start to see on Reddit, you see various moderators that are in charge of different communities, mm-hmm. and you see those communities entirely ran, via the internet. We're trying to start similar programs via a program we call Tal Scouts, where we have students within various school districts who kind of help along the way in terms of moderating content and in terms of just bringing awareness to some of the issues that exist within these areas. So Tal Scouts is one part of it. We want to also, bring corporate sponsors and get them involved within the program as well. We sincerely think that there is a genuine opportunity. I think CSR has played a much larger role this mm-hmm. year than it has in any other previous year. When you take a look at how important it's been for, coronavirus or like Black Lives Matter movement, I think it's very important now, especially today, for a company to be aware of what the values of their employees are. And we mm-hmm. wanted the Tal Giving application to really showcase how that would happen and what exactly their employees care about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great to have a community-driven support system And I think that's one of the things, especially in the blockchain industry, that is helping grow, because everyone seems to be caring so much for each other, and especially in this time of need. And these crowdfunding platforms have done so much for people that now, you can democratize, raising money for somebody in need for real situations. And GoFundMe has been a huge success in the past years. But now moving forward with this new technology and adding a twist and unique perspectives, how would you say TAL Giving has its differentiation points from GoFundMe or any other fundraising crowdfunding platform?
So if you kind of take a look at the landscape, right? Like you have your Patreons, your GoFundMes, and your Kickstarters. A lot of their business models itself baked into it is this idea of we will take a cut in between. And that tends to be where even amongst the user base of those platforms, once cost structures start to change or once demands from investors start to change, the actual user base is agitated of this isn't what we asked for. This does not serve the needs that we wanted. And they're also significantly limited in the way in which transactions can happen because of the way our existing financial system is, right? Whenever we want to make an ACH transaction or some kind of money movement operation, there is sometimes a flat fee. And so that gets in the way of things like microtransactions and micro donations. And so when we had, as part of our values in mind, we want to just completely facilitate giving, and the entire goal of this product is more so to raise awareness and to help empower communities rather than to take something in between. I think it caused us to think a little bit differently in terms of looking at what technologies were growing up in terms of blockchain and how we can leverage that to just change the model at which we do business, which is why it's blockchain itself. It's a very community-driven engineering platform, and we try to move that into, or we try to integrate that into how we've developed our platform as well.
Yeah, definitely great to be giving back to the community. And I notice as well that when these corporations get super large or they become public and they take that percentage, the percentage starts rising. And it's usually not what people thought. As the platform continues to grow, they have all the power and they can set the percentage at whatever they would like. And often, it takes a large cut of somebody who's already in need. And there's also those financial intermediary transactions. So, what was the main decision behind taking zero cut, and how will that create a sustainable business just by working through your corporate partners or through other avenues in the way that Touch a Life Foundation will be able to sustain itself?
I think the main decision behind the zero cut, to be honest, was thinking from a user perspective, right? I myself wanted to be able to donate to these organizations internationally or locally, and I consistently saw that I was being charged some kind of flat fee or a 25% fee, and I was like, that's ridiculous, right? And wanting to see, we still technically are paying it, like, to be completely upfront, but we are building our ecosystem such that eventually we're removing that part as well. But and we're trying to get, in terms of our legal fees, in terms of our accounting and etc., we actually have partners that are working with us that are helping do this pro bono, right? And that is exactly what I say when I mean community-driven approach, which is we're relying a lot on our network to help make an organization like this possible, where we're really saying, hey, we have this idea or this ideal in mind. Can you help us out to help make this possible through the free time that you have available? Something that, we thought about when we were thinking about the giving process is giving isn't just money. It is also about giving the items that you have, giving in kind, or giving just the time that you have available. And a lot of people have come up to us saying, look, we live in the Silicon Valley. We have all of these niche skills, like in law or accounting or medical skills. How can we give our time and our skills away? And so that's really allowed us to rethink the business model of how a nonprofit like this could work, in the sense that we're not just thinking in terms of, okay, like, these are some costs on the balance sheet, but like, how do we actually engage people to help facilitate a culture of giving within our community?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about helping other people, and I think that you have that vision set straight. So I guess I still have a couple questions about the tech side of the platform in terms of integrating blockchain into it and adding in that innovation factor or that unique perspective in terms of tech or IP. How has TAL Giving integrated that new technology?
So we've done to start with like a minor Coinbase integration just to like see whether we can donate through cryptos on the Talgiving platform. That's kind of been our first pass at it. But what we eventually want to do is we're doing a little bit of extensive research right now into what kinds of blockchains out there can really help cut those middleman costs. So Stellar has been very exciting. Some of the developments within Ethereum recently as well they've also been doing some really good stuff in terms of reducing the gas price or just the cost of movement across various assets. And then something that we're also doing a little bit of research into as well is how we can look into tokenization of various other assets to see whether that can also fund donations as well. I think because the blockchain space is still growing, we're right now just relying on some bread and butter Hyperledger and Ethereum related stuff and some like very common integrations to be able to help make the platform possible. But we are extensively looking at, how we can integrate with a lot of these future technologies that are out there that are really going to help speak to our kind of fundamental values.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say is going to be one of the main or some of the main key success factors for ensuring that Touch of Life grows into a mainstream platform even beyond the blockchain community?
I think with anything within the technology space, users matter, right? Mm-hmm. User and user engagement matters the most. And so when I think about the company, I think about it blockchain second, like an actual giving foundation first, right? Because I am trying to see how exactly we can spark joy within the actual user experience, how we can actually make users feel more attached to the user experience. And I think just overall, when we look at the new blockchain applications that are emerging within the space, increasingly the protocols that that people are trying out, however fancy they may be, people are trying to abstract that or obscure that away from the end customer, and they are trying to really highlight the application itself and showing the power of the application through, hey, here's all of those middleman fees, or here's all of those questions of who owns the power that we are addressing through our platform. But fundamentally, this is also just a great app to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think your team has hit the nail on the head with customer service, knowing what your customers wants and needs are, and fulfilling those as the top priority. I think Amazon did a great job doing that. CZ from Binance also just mentioned last week. We didn't really have a strategy. We just made what our customers wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how they get all the traction. And they've had a lot of philanthropic initiatives as well, creating Binance Charity and things like that. Is Talgiving working with any other charities or initiatives to expand your cause as well?
We're working with charities at the more ground level. No crypto-related charities or no blockchain-related charities at the moment. So right now we're working with the San Jose School District's McKinney-Vento program, working with them in terms of being able to donate like backpacks, socks, sweaters, etc., and just trying to get our community base just actively involved within that piece. On the international front, we're also trying to help in terms of being able to help people within India that are affected by recent COVID sanctions. Mm-hmm. Especially more poorer communities over there have been very heavily affected by just the shelter in place, because you no longer can have small businesses. A lot of the traditional jobs that people rely on are no longer available, as mm-hmm. they're not available over here. So just figuring out ways in which we can help people during this time is, I think, very important to us.
Definitely, that's great. And now, one of my last questions is, what is the next big thing that's coming up for Touch of Life Foundation, by the end of this year or in the next 12 months?
Definitely, but in the end of this year, I think what you can kind of look towards is again, we're trying to focus entirely on UI, so just a very great UI experience. We are trying to increase the number of partnerships that we are having amongst the user base that we are working with. So I mentioned corporate sponsors earlier. So you can see that Touch of Life is going to be more involved with donation matching programs within other companies, or maybe helping us facilitate, again, within that middleman process, or reducing the cost of actually doing business. Those are the big things that we're focused on. And then on the more research side, we are trying to, again, within the next 24 months, we're hoping to get a lot more clarity around what we can do within the settlement space and the international settlement space.
Well, it's very exciting. Lots to look forward to. And if there are other strategic partners or potential customers or people looking to download the application, what's the best way for them to learn more and to get involved?
So go to www.touchalife.org. You can hear a lot about just Touch a Life since its inception and what our vision for the company is. And then on your Android App Store or your Apple App Store, go ahead and download the Tile Giving application. Just find causes that you care about. If you really feel passionately about some cause, add it to the platform. Otherwise, donate to any cause that you might care about or you feel excited about when you take a look at through the app.
Great. I'll leave those links in the description box below. Thank you so much for your time, Tej. It's been a pleasure learning about Touch a Life, and all the best on your initiatives moving forward. And let's follow up in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashton.